Welcome to the Law Offices of Chris M. Ingram podcast. We're delighted you have joined us today for our discussion on a U.S. visa called a TN visa for Mexican and Canadian graduate professionals. Okay, let's talk U.S. immigration. So if you happen to be a graduate professional, maybe from Canada or Mexico, and you're sort of looking at opportunities in the U.S., you've probably heard about the TN visa. It's a really interesting part of the whole trade picture between the three countries, isn't it?
It really is. And this visa category, it exists specifically because of these trade agreements aimed at boosting economic ties.
Right, like the original one, NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, that was January 1st, 1994.
Exactly. And then its successor, which, goes by different names depending on where you are, USMCA here in the States.
It's USMA in Canada, right?
Yeah, and TMX elsewhere. That kicked in back in 2020.
And the TN visa is like a core piece of that, facilitating movement.
Precisely. It's designed to make it easier for qualified professionals to work temporarily in the U.S. It's a key labor mobility provision.
Okay. So our plan today is to really, dive deep into this TN visa, understand the opportunities it presents for those qualified professionals from Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the TN visa really highlights how seriously the U.S., Canada, and Mexico took the idea of economic integration.
It wasn't just about shipping goods back and forth.
Not at all. The people who designed these agreements, they understood that moving skilled people, professionals, is just as vital for a dynamic economy.
Makes sense. Businesses need talent wherever it is.
Absolutely. Think about it. For companies to really operate smoothly across borders, they've got to have access to the right skills. The TN is sort of the mechanism for that.
Like a cross-pollination of expertise.
Exactly. Supporting growth in tech, engineering, healthcare, finance, all those key areas. And in fact, it's stuck around, from NAFTA through USMCA, really underlines its value.
Okay, so who exactly gets to use this? Is it like any graduate from Canada or Mexico?
Not quite that broad. It's specifically for citizens of Canada and Mexico. And they need to have professional qualifications, generally at the graduate level.
Okay.
And crucially, they need to be coming to work in a profession that's actually on a specific defined list.
So there's a list. It's not just any professional job.
Right. It's geared towards more specialized roles where you'd expect a certain level of, expertise. There's a pretty detailed list outlining which jobs qualify.
Gotcha. And what kind of jobs are we talking about? Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Think architects, various kinds of engineers, lawyers, pharmacists, lots of scientists, teachers too, but generally at the university level. What's interesting is how stable that list has been, from NAFTA right through to USMCA, mostly the same professions.
But it's not just the job title, right? You mentioned qualifications.
Exactly. That's a really crucial point. Just having the title isn't enough. Each job on that list comes with its own specific requirements. Maybe a certain degree, a professional license, sometimes both.
So you really need to check the fine print for your specific field.
Absolutely essential. You have to match those specific criteria.
Okay. Now, thinking about working in the U.S., usually an employer has to be involved somehow. How does that work with the TN visa? Do you need sponsorship?
Yes, you definitely do. A U.S. employer has to sponsor the Canadian or Mexican applicant.
Meaning they need to offer you a job?
Right, a job offer in one of those eligible professions, and it needs to be a role that, fits the requirements. It can't just be any job. It generally needs to be one requiring at least a bachelor's degree, and that's specialized knowledge. It's not really meant for, say, very entry-level stuff.
Okay. And I imagine finding an employer who's willing to sponsor, that can be the tricky part, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's often the biggest hurdle for any work visa, including the TN.
So any tips for listeners trying to find a U.S. company in a TN field?
Well, networking is just vital. Really engaging within your professional circles, going to industry events, virtual or in person, and using platforms like LinkedIn strategically.
Makes sense. Connect with people already doing it.
Exactly. And do your homework. Research which U.S. industries are really booming or facing shortages in your specific field.
Like where the demand is highest.
Precisely. Think about areas like data science right now, or maybe advanced practice nurses, physician assistants, cybersecurity specialists are huge. STEM educators too. Targeting companies in those high-need sectors might, boost your chances of finding that sponsor.
All right, so let's say you manage that. You find the job, get the offer, the TN visa is approved. How long can you actually stay and work in the U.S.?
The initial period for TN status is typically 3 years.
3 years, okay.
But here's what makes it quite attractive. It's renewable. Unlike some other temporary visas, there isn't a hard limit on how many times you can extend it.
Really? No limit?
No statutory limit, as long as you still meet all the requirements for the job and your employer still needs you.
So potentially you could be working in the U.S. for, well, quite a long time through extensions. Is there a catch? Is it still considered temporary?
Ah, yes, that's the key. Even with multiple extensions, the underlying principle of the TN visa is that it requires non-immigrant intent.
Meaning you have to intend to go back home eventually.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
You need to be able to show that your stay is temporary and that you still have ties to Canada or Mexico, suggesting you plan to return at some point.
How strict are they on proving that? Especially if you're there for years.
Well, USCIS, the Immigration Service, they do understand the practicalities. They know it might be hard to maintain a full residence back home if you're working full-time in the U.S. Often, a clear statement of your intent to leave when the job ends is okay.
But the principle remains it's temporary employment.
Correct. An important point. If you want to switch jobs, change employers while you're on a TN visa.
Yeah.
You need a whole new TN application for that new employer. You can't just transfer it automatically. The new job also has to qualify.
Right, that makes sense. Each job needs its own approval. Now, what about families? Spouses, kids, can they come along? Can they work?
This is a really significant point and sometimes a limitation. Spouses and any unmarried children under 21 can usually come with the TN visa holder to get what's called TD status.
TD status, okay.
And that lets them live in the U.S. with the main TN holder. But this is but they generally are not allowed to work.
Oh, okay. So the spouse can't just get a job easily.
Typically not. There is one notable exception, though, for Canadian spouses. If the Canadian spouse independently qualifies for a TN-eligible profession, graduate level, gets their own job offer from a U.S. employer.
They could apply for their own TN visa.
Exactly. They could get their own TN status and work authorization that way. But otherwise, TD status holders are just there to live with the primary TN holder, and their status lasts as long as the TN visa does.
That definitely sounds like something families need to think hard about, especially for a potentially longer stay. Does the TN itself lead anywhere permanent, like towards a green card?
No, not directly. The TN is strictly a non-immigrant temporary work visa. It doesn't have its own built-in path to permanent residency or a green card.
So if someone wants to stay permanently,
they need to look at other options completely separately. It's really important, especially for families maybe with kids getting closer to 21, to think about green card strategies early on if permanent residency is the goal.
What kind of options are there?
Well, the usual employment-based routes, mainly. Things like the EB-1 category for people with extraordinary ability or outstanding researchers, or the EB-2 for professionals with advanced degrees or exceptional ability.
Okay.
There's also the EB-3 for skilled workers and other professionals, and even the EB-5 investor visa, though that's quite different. The point is, you need to qualify for one of these independently of your TN status, though you could potentially hold TN status while pursuing one.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a whole other layer of complexity. Which brings me to, well, navigating all this. It seems incredibly intricate. Would you say getting legal help is pretty much essential?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, immigration law is notoriously complex, and it changes. The rules, the interpretations, they shift.
And the stakes are so high.
Incredibly high for individuals, for families. Getting it wrong can have really serious consequences. So yes, working with a qualified immigration attorney is, I'd say, crucial.
Not just a good idea, but necessary.
Pretty much. An experienced lawyer understands the nuances, the eligibility details for your specific situation, and honestly, they help you avoid making costly mistakes.
What kind of mistakes do people make trying to do it themselves?
Oh, lots. Misinterpreting eligibility is a big one. Not providing enough evidence or the right kind of evidence, missing deadlines. The system has very specific requirements, very specific procedures.
It's easy to trip up.
Very easy. An attorney makes sure everything is accurate, filed correctly, on time, and presented in the best possible light. They know the latest regulations, the policy memos, all that stuff.
Okay. So for our listeners who might be thinking about the TN or maybe other U.S. immigration paths, can you tell us a bit about the law offices of Chris M. Ingram?
Sure. Our firm, the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, we've been focused exclusively on U.S. immigration law for, well, over 20 years now.
Wow. 2 decades.
Yeah. Our founder, Chris Ingram, he actually has law degrees from the UK, and he's admitted to the New York State Bar. Been a member of ALA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, since 2004.
So deep expertise there.
Definitely. And, the whole firm is really passionate about helping people navigate this process and achieve their goals of living and working in the U.S. We've also put a huge amount of effort into creating online resources.
Like your website.
Exactly. www.breakthroughhesse.com. It's got, I think, over 1,000 pages of information now, plus more than 350 videos explaining different aspects of U.S. immigration.
That sounds incredibly useful for people starting their research.
We hope so. It covers a lot of ground. And for anyone ready to talk about their specific case, we offer a free initial case evaluation. You can just fill out the inquiry form on the website.
Great, so people can get some initial guidance.
Yeah, we're really committed to helping listeners figure out their best path forward in the U.S. immigration system.
That's really valuable information. It's quite something to think about, isn't it? The way this visa connects the professional landscapes of the three countries.
It really is. The TN visa, it just underscores those deep economic ties between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And, the real value placed on the skills that professionals bring across those borders. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if you're out there listening and you're a qualified professional in Canada or Mexico, could the TN visa be your key? Your way to unlock new opportunities, maybe advance your career down south? It's definitely something worth a closer look.
A very interesting thought to leave people with. Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you got a lot out of this discussion. Leave us a comment if you can. Also visit our website, www.breakthroughusa.com. See you next time on Let's Talk U.S. Immigration.